early morning Zoom. Well, it is 11:51. I'm just going to double check to make sure that we on point. Yep. I'm checking this out now on my phone to make sure that we live. And we are. And we are. Yeah, being live streamed. Okay, I see it now. Let's rock out, y'all. Let's rock out. We're gonna rock out today. I think this is gonna be a strong hour. It's gonna be a strong hour. I have a lot to say about the question of the day. Question of the day is, as I read from my phone, does your belief system match where your life is going? Does your belief system, my belief system, does our belief system match where our lives are going? Midday cage conversation, general, but specifically to those who may find interest in the grant writing class taking place December the 2nd, which is next Monday, to March the 3rd. Of course, I've continually communicated that it may get pushed back a couple weeks out of observance of holidays. Excuse me. But it's going to be a grand time. I don't want to give any detail connected to that class because this is not the purpose of this conversation. The purpose of this conversation is for us to really self-reflect, assess, and evaluate, where is my life going? Where do I desire for my life to go? And does my belief system, how I think, is or does how I think match where I desire to go? Does my thinking, how I think, match the place that I want to grow? My pastor would say to us, Apostle Stephen Moffat, shout out to Rehoboth International Ministries, he would say to us, in my paraphrase, you got to grow before you go. If you go before you grow, you go back to start. If you go do something before you grow, you're going to go back to start because the maturity hasn't reached the depth that it needs to reach to get to that place. It can be in our maturity or it can be in a new venture. It hasn't reached a place where we can experience sustainability. I can maintain that place and advance in that place. So these are things that I want us to think about as we move forward, especially for those who have shown interest in the grant writing class. The question is right now, Monday, November the 25th, does my belief system match where my life is going? I want to get in this class. I want to learn this grant writing process. I want to understand the ideas, the concepts, and the application. I want to go through the process to complete these applications. It's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take patience. It's going to take diligence and perseverance. Does the belief system, the mentality that I have match what it's going to take to get to the next place? I want you to think about that throughout this whole conversation. We're going to go into depth. I cannot see any comments. I'm just going to flow. and then I will address the comments, questions, the feedback later. Maybe tomorrow, maybe later on today. It all depends. I just want to make sure that we get this conversation out there for us to consider. Feel free to participate. Feel free to get your feedback, statements, quotes, questions. If you find interest in a grant writing workshop or, I'm sorry, class, let me know. But I'm going to be focused on delivering this content in a clear and precise way for our maximization of our full potential. Redefining misconceptions. We're going to go through this and the scenario itself, then we're going to flip into belief systems, because our belief systems have to reflect where we're going. Again, if we go before we grow, we're going to go back to start. Keep that in your mind. I'm going to keep saying it. If we go before we grow, we're going to go back to start. We're going to have to start back over. And that can be emotionally draining. Redefining misconceptions. Some of us don't know. Some of us don't know we are stuck. That is tragic. Some people don't understand that they're in a mental prison because they're accustomed and comfortable with being in mental incarceration. Some people don't know that they're in the dark because they never been exposed to light. They couldn't identify what light was there. Excuse that, sorry. We're gonna move forward through that. Some people don't know that they stuck. Why? Because we have an inaccurate definition of a term, a word, idea, or an experience. This is what we could call a misconception. Misconceptions are views, opinions that are incorrect because they're based on faulty thinking or understanding. To get unstuck, we gotta redefine the word, the term, the idea, and experience for accuracy. Redefinition or redefining, it suggests an action or process of defining something again or defining it differently. Redefinition. We had the tendency to define things based on our exposure, our upbringing, the people we find ourselves around. We got to redefine these things if we're going to go to the next place. That's just what it is, y'all. So Renee Perry, used to be one of my mentors, an awesome colleague. She wrote this. So this is a scenario where there was a misconception and the misconception had to get redefined for her to reach the outcome that she desired. So what am I saying is that for us to reach the outcome, the goal that we desire, there's going to have to be some redefining of some misconceptions. Because remember, misconceptions, views, or opinions that are incorrect because they're based on faulty thinking and understanding. So I give you one that you can relate to, and that some of our kids will say. Some of our kids want to go to the NFL, the NBA. I don't knock that. If that's your dream, that's your dream. My prayer is that I hope that God places it in your heart. But they don't know what it takes. And when a person don't know what it takes, they can have that goal, but that goal can be unrealistic because they don't understand what it takes to achieve that goal. So they think I can do A, B, C, and D. That's faulty thinking. That's a misunderstanding. It has to be redefined. How is it redefined? Because they end up having to interact with somebody who did it. And that person will say, hey, you can do A, B, and C, but take away F, G, and H and replace it with that, which increases the probability of you achieving that goal. That's the simplest form. Renee writes, we are given a whole set of beliefs when we are little. Subconsciously, we don't necessarily know that we're given these beliefs. Sometimes it happens in conversation. Sometimes it happens when we observe that conversation in demonstration. It happens when we're in our environments that we're in, upbringing households. What is right, what is wrong, what we should do, what needs to be done. However, is there a belief that you hanging on to for dear life that just isn't working for you anymore? How do you know? You have a goal, and you can't manifest the goal because it's not other people that's stopping you from achieving the goal. It's our thinking, our belief system. Is there a belief system that you hanging on to for dear life that just isn't working for you anymore? Please think about it and then type yes or no. How do you know if what I'm trying to achieve, if it's taking me a substantial period of time to get there and I haven't got there, then yeah, you got to ask yourself, is the thinking that I have, is the belief system that I have, is it true? What are the facts? This is one of her old beliefs. You must work hard to make a lot of money. Oh my goodness. You must work hard to make a lot of money. She writes, the realization came to me that this belief is unsubstantial. Everyone around me, environment, always confirmed this belief until one day I decided to reassess it for truth, only to realize that there were people around me who didn't work hard and who made a lot of money. So basically, she was around individuals that confirmed or introduced or confirmed that belief to her that to make a lot of money, you got to work hard. I can't tell you what she meant by hard. To me, off top, I'm thinking hard physically and in a number of hours. Everyone around her environment affirmed this. They confirmed this belief, but she had to assess it for truth. She found out that just through her interaction with people around her that it was people making a lot of money and they wasn't working hard. That's something to think about because if you never engage and we never engage each other and find out it's just a background of history and it just takes surface, then we don't discover that and we don't tap into what's in a person that we need to move forward. She said, I no longer hang on to this belief. I've had to learn, or I've had to learn how to make money without working 18-hour days. So this is her interpretation of hard work, 18-hour days. And there are many ways to do that, but not without first changing your belief and changing your mind. Don't be afraid to question your beliefs because I'm saying to you and to us that if there's no questions coming to our belief system and our thinking, if there's no challenge coming to our thinking and belief system from other individuals, if there's no irritation, agitation, or frustration coming to us and our soul based on another thought or some type of demand, and I say demand, when I say demand, I'm saying they putting a demand on the potential that's inside of you or another thought or idea, then we're not growing. Because what deactivates our growth before we go into the beliefs part. What deactivates our growth is that when you say something to me and then I take offense to it and I don't ever take responsibility of how I feel, and which didn't allow me to really assess the thought for truth. Because I'm dealing with it and I'm dealing with what you said to me, how you said it, why you said it, when you said it on an emotional level. And when I'm dealing with it on an emotional level, it washes away the lesson. Because I'm dealing with it emotionally, not logically. Because sometimes when people make statements to us, it hits. Elder Vanessa shared with me a long time ago. When truth comes, it hits your flesh first. And when it hits, and this is me saying this, when it hits your flesh first, it don't feel good. But we can't be buried in the emotion of how it feels. Once that wears off, then it has to be assessed for truth. And how do we assess it for truth? For me, I take it to God. Now, what that person said was wrong for that person to say that to me. I feel some type of way. But is it true? And that's just a real conversation, y'all. Real talk. All right, I'm gonna pause for questions. I'm gonna pause for some feedback because I don't know who there, I don't know who not there. I'm looking at my phone. I don't see no questions. Let me see. I'm gonna type this. Please share any thoughts or questions. Hey, this gonna help us. This gonna help us because we cannot wait to the inauguration of a new year to start rethinking our dream. We can't wait till the inauguration of the new year to start assessing how we think and how we perceive things. If you wait till the new year, it's too late. This growth and development piece is an ongoing process. It's an ongoing masterpiece. It's an ongoing painting or tapestry. It's ongoing. It's a process. It's a process. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go, y'all. I'm gonna make this statement before I say this, before we go into this, is that Facebook, all the social media forms, I only say Facebook because that's what we own. Oh, hold on. Let me go back. I'm only using Facebook because that's the platform that we're using to do this. I'm really trying to expand my screen, but it's not working for me. Facebook has a tremendous amount of information on this platform. Very, very informative. We get snapshots. As my pastor said, we get sound bites, and that's true. We get on these reels, and whether it's comedy or whether it's informative, and let's just say it's informative, we see these different reels and we see these different videos, and we hear a sound bite, but we don't know what else was said, the context of the soundbite and what went into the soundbite, meaning the process the person went through or didn't go through to be able to share that. Sometimes we also don't know if the person is living the outcome that they shared. We really don't know. So I think what we have the tendency to do is we'll take the soundbite and try to integrate it into our lives. And that's dangerous because we may not have the belief system that is symmetrical or reflective of the thought outcome that the person gave. We'll 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 take something and then integrate it without going through the process of the renewing of the mind. Romans 12, 1 to 3. Our mind has to be renewed to make what we gather sustainable, a sustainable outcome. Even as we go through the grant writing process, there has to be a mindset reset. There has to be a renewal of the mind in order to endure the whole process of the class. All right, this is my close friend, Miss Davita. Shout out to her. She writes, and I quote, "Your belief system is made up of conscious and unconscious thoughts, ideas stacked on top of one another, all coming together as a network, forming your belief system, a stronghold. A stronghold can be positive or a stronghold can be negative. It is our overwhelming passion about our belief systems that make it hard to disconnect from falsehoods. The emotion that's connected to our belief systems. If you go back to the Renee Perry scenario that I read to you, she wrote that her belief systems came from when she was what? Little. A sponge. A clear space that could be painted on. When we find passion connected to the belief system, it's difficult to determine what's false and what's a lie. Because my emotion is telling me, because I experienced it, my emotion is involved in it. And because I'm emotional about it, I'm passionate about it, I don't want to disconnect. But you could be you could be connected to a lie. You could be passionate about a lie all day. So this information I'm gonna share with you real quick is from New Skills Academy PowerPoints where I got my life coaching certification from. It's profound. When I read this, it was profound to me. This is going to help us understand about beliefs, where they come from, how they can benefit us, how they can deter us, how can they throw us off track. We're gonna go into this because we cannot afford to go into 2025 under the New Year's resolution without addressing our belief system. We'll not be able to produce the outcome, the goals that's been placed in our heart, the purpose that God has placed in us, unless we assess our belief systems for truth all day, every day. Let's go into this. Beliefs are conditioned perceptions that are formed in our minds based on previous experiences, whether good or bad. Beliefs do not reflect the actual experiences, but are based on our perceptions of them. Have you ever heard a person say that your perception is your reality? Yeah, we all have, but we didn't say that your perception was truth. We said your perceptions was reality. So my reality can be a lie if my reality associated with my perception is not connected to my true identity, purpose, and destiny. If it's disconnected from that, then it's a lie. So I'm gonna hit you with this revelation. This may be a little bit heavy. I live in Joliet, Illinois, but I'm not from Joliet, Illinois. I live here. I reside here physically, but I'm not from here. That is a belief that's a little heavy, but it's spiritually discerned. But because people believe that they were born here physically, geographically in Joliet and raised here, it's difficult to detach from the geographical location, which comes with culture, which comes with customs, which comes with ideas, which comes with beliefs. It's hard for a person to disconnect from that because the belief is I was born here, I was raised here, I grew up here. I rode past the old Evergreen and I saw someone that I knew. That person has been associated with the old Evergreen for a long time. I'm 44. The person that I saw was in their 40s. They've been in that area for a long period of time, at least 20 years. But that's a place of comfort for that individual. The place of comfort will allow you to go to sleep. Little slumber, little sleep, poverty comes. They probably have a infatuation with that environment because they've probably been there since they was little. Our belief systems are formed when we emotionally attach ourselves to people, circumstances, and experiences, emotionally, how we feel. Beliefs are so deeply embedded in the subconscious that we hold on to them tightly, not even knowing, without even pausing to think if they best serve our life's purpose. So the subconscious mind operates on autopilot. There are beliefs, that's the negative stronghold that we hold on to for dear life and don't even know it because it's on autopilot. It's a program, it's ingrained in us because we ascertain or we ingested or we received these thoughts when we were shorties. And because that belief system got built and it was affirmed through experiences, through environment, through people who were similar to us, who reflected some of the attitudes, the thoughts or belief that was accustomed, that we were familiar with, it became embedded in our subconscious, and it ran without us even knowing and understanding the why. This is why conflict is important, because when you encounter somebody that's contrary to your belief system, we can't afford to blame it on that person or how we feel or what we think. We can say, hey, what you said, it affected me in this way. But what they said to us and what they did or how they responded or how they moved still need to be assessed for truth. You can look at your life, and we can look at our lives and determine what needs to be reassessed by the outcome. If the outcome that we have is harming people, it equates to us being in poverty, destitute, emotionally, mentally, physically. If there's a shortcoming and it's putting pressure on individuals around us, unnecessary pressure, then that thought, that behavior that came from that thought has to be reassessed. It has to be. But what we do is that we had a tendency to internalize when people say stuff to us and it affects us and how we feel, and then we justify not thinking about it because of how you said it or how we heard it. All right, finishing off. I don't see nobody. Let's see if I see anybody. Hey man, it is. Hey, we going strong, man. It is what it is. Some beliefs. This is a good thought. Some beliefs may have served a purpose during childhood. Oh, reflect. Many of our belief systems no longer serve our best interests and are incompatible with the changes in circumstances and situations. Some beliefs may have served the purpose during childhood. When I thought as a child, many of our belief systems no longer serve our best interests and are incompatible with changes in circumstances and situations. When I was a child, I thought as a child. I spoke as a child. I did childish things. When I became a man, mature, I put away childish things. Put away action. You know what? This thought don't serve me. This thought don't serve me. With my students that I work with, out of respect and honor for their parents, and not to cause any division or wedge between them and their parents. What I say to them is that there's going to come a time in your maturation process, and as you get older, that you're going to have to assess what your parents taught you, whether in conversation or just through life. You're going to have to assess that and determine what you can take and what you have to separate from based on where your life is going. I had to do the same thing. I love my parents. They did an awesome job. But there were some things that I was taught that I couldn't take to the next phase of my life. And there's no disrespect to them. It was just things that were inherited through our cultural upbringing. No shade towards them. I love them dearly, but I have more allegiance to the God given purpose and destiny than I do the people and than I do the family. And that's a real thought. One of the main reasons why people feel stuck or unable to progress is because their life has moved forward chronologically, but their beliefs are keeping them stuck in the past that is no longer relevant. That's a strong thought. Shout out to New Skills Academy PowerPoints. Or I'm not the PowerPoint, but shout out to New Skills Academy. One of the main reasons why people feel stuck when you go into a New Year's resolution, you go into a new year, you bring a New Year's resolution, right? One of the main reasons why people feel stuck or unable to progress is because the life has moved forward. So we go from 2024 to 2025. But I still have the same beliefs. We can have new goals, but the same beliefs. Yeah, yeah, it's heavy. You you can have new goals, but in the same beliefs. And that's what my pastor always say to us. We don't necessarily believe in New Year's resolutions. And I agree 100% because even though it's a new year, that don't mean that it's a new you. It's a new you first, then it's a new year, not new year, new you. You can have new goals, but the same beliefs. So we got to go deeper and address the belief system. Then those goals will really be new because our minds will be renewed. We'll have a new perception. We'll have a new viewpoint. We'll have a new attitude, which a new mind, a renewed mind, washes away the residues, the emotions of the past, and we step into the now, so we can step into the new. Throughout our lives, we collect facts, knowingly and unknowingly, as evidence that legitimizes our belief system, which then become more deeply ingrained in our systems. That's why people like to argue. That's why we like to argue with each other, because we've collected facts as evidence. This proves and legitimizes what I think and how I feel, even though what I think and how I feel according to how I think can be a lie. It can be a falsehood. But because we stand strong on our knowledge base, because sometimes we haven't been exposed to anything outside of our knowledge base, I'll argue with you verbally and non-verbally. Verbally in my talk and non-verbally in my action. Because all I see is you. I don't necessarily see what and who's speaking through you. That's a master key. That's a hint too. Repetitive patterns of thinking and holding on to the same expectations eventually transform into beliefs. So repetitive patterns of thinking and holding on to the same expectations eventually transforms opinions into beliefs. So opinions is like what I think, my perspective. But when it's a belief, it's a system. It becomes ingrained and it becomes a system. And then it transforms that I operate on autopilot. Man, this some heavy stuff, because once it gets repetitive, and this is why in Potentia we teach kids to think before they do, because the thinking becomes before the doing. The thinking first, then the action. But if the action continues and it's affirmed by the person or individuals that are misguided, then it's going to eventually form into a belief system and become a stronghold in a negative sense, where the opinion I thought turns into a belief, and it gets hard. We're gonna do. Let me see. Okay, this the last portion. We're gonna take a little break. Let me see. Okay. Folks, we must be at work. We must be at work. It's all good. Summary before we go into this last portion. Let me go back to this slide. I think the one PowerPoint that really resonates with me is the last one. Throughout our lives, we collect facts consciously through research, subconsciously through life, as evidence that legitimizes our beliefs, which then become more deeply ingrained into our systems. Repetitive patterns of thinking and holding on to the same expectations eventually transforms opinions and beliefs. Check it out. Type check it out. I'm gonna type check it out real quick. Potential. Teach the kids how to think before they do. If a preteen does something and that preteen gets caught, or the preteen doesn't get caught, they in trouble either way. So a preteen could do something and get caught and don't have an understanding of why it was wrong with what they did. They could be in trouble, because then that could transform into a repetitive pattern, which will turn into a belief. The dangerous part about it is this: if they don't get caught, that first part is dangerous if they don't listen. The second part is dangerous because if they don't get caught, that person, he or she preteen, believes, keyword, they can do it again. Because in my conscious, the inner part of who I am is telling me that it's wrong. But because I didn't get caught, it increases the probability of me doing it again. We're focused on the consequence. The consequence is positive or negative. and let's just say in this aspect, negative. But we place more emphasis on the habit that is formed from the consequence. So the habit that is formed from the consequence is I didn't get caught. I can do it again. And then the habit continues to build and is stacked, then it becomes a belief system where now that person can transfer or transition into criminal activity. It's real, y'all. Lastly, in the early stage, beliefs are tend to be flexible, but over time they become rigid and inflexible. Finally, they reach the point whereby beliefs become so strong, despite repeated evidence to the contrary, we are no longer willing to consider a fresh perspective. In my opinion, this happens because we attach our emotions to what we've been exposed to. And what we've been exposed to, once our emotions associated with it, it transforms into a pattern, which transforms into a belief system, which equates to a lifestyle. Then if we have somebody outside of the lifestyle say, hey, that's wrong, and that's wrong, because we overly emotional about it, we'll take it as, oh, you being critical. Because we've attached our emotion to the experience and our identity to the experience. But if we detach our emotion identity from the experience, we may hear what that person's saying is differently. They may not necessarily be pointing out our flaws. They may be pointing out things that need to be adjusted by addressing the outcomes or the lifestyle associated with the thinking, with the behavior. Beliefs determine what you will try and what you will not try, and therefore also determine the type of goals that you set for yourself. Very often, we are not inclined to push ourselves out of our comfort zone we feel that we can achieve. Man, because our beliefs are preventing us from expecting more from ourselves. The expectations, the limitations, and the labels that we put on ourselves are based on internal belief systems. I need to read this again. Beliefs determine what you will try and what you will not try. And therefore, they also determine the type of goals that you set for yourself. Very often, we are not inclined to push ourselves out of our comfort zone or what we feel we can achieve because of our beliefs, because our beliefs are preventing us from expecting more from ourselves. That's why it's important to listen to people outside of you, because they have a different perspective, they have different experiences, they have a different mindset. They are able to see the potential in you. And when they come and speak, we immediately compare what's being said to our past or present state, which deflects the fuel and encouragement that is needed to push past the comfort zone. But remember, the comfort zone was formed by our beliefs. Our beliefs came from past experience. Sometimes when we little, sometimes our beliefs were formed because we attached the emotions to a situation and it transformed into a pattern, which equated to a lifestyle, which became a stronghold. In this case, a negative sense. Lastly, the expectation, limitations, and labels that we put on ourselves based on our internal belief system. Okay, I'm sorry. The expectation, limitations, and labels that we put on ourselves are based on our internal belief system inside. And then this was connected to the life coaching aspect. Most of your clients feel stuck and unfulfilled and restless because the goals that they have set for their lives are aligned with their false reality. So what does that mean to me? What does that mean to us as we wrap up this whole belief system conversation? Is that if I feel stuck and unfulfilled and restless, it's because the goals that I have set for myself are aligned with the false reality, because I built a false reality based on a falsehood of belief systems. And now I believe that's who I am. So I'm setting goals that's not allowing me to come up my comfort zone. They allowing me to stay safe. I feel good because I'm accomplishing these goals, but it's more inside of me that can be accomplished. But it only takes place when I assess the outcomes for truth. And I can assess the outcome for truth by being in conversation with other individuals or taking them to the Lord. Like, hold on, what is this? What is it that you want from the life that you gave me? And that's one aspect that I would leave us with is that we had a tendency to tell people, and I say we, I mean from a societal standpoint, we had the tendency to tell people what you want out of life. What is it that you want out of life? But that's not a servant. To me, that's not a service mentality. The service mentality is putting others before self. The service mentality is, what does life want from me? What is the demand that this life that I've been given is placed on me, not what I want from life? To me, that the first is more of a poverty mindset. What can I get? The second one is more prosperous in the soul and in a practical sense. What can I give? What is the demand that life has placed on me that I can give out from? Woo! That was a lot. That was a lot. I may redo it one day as the thoughts and my experiences are definitely, and the thoughts are refined and are sharper and more crisp. But I was wanted to I wanted to get it because I was thinking about leaving me leaving social media and me leaving something to value the individual to refer back to, but also prepping people for the grant writing class, just having us understand that there has to be a mindset reset. There has to be a paradigm shift, a mentality shift, an assessment of belief systems. If we're going to go through this class for these 3 months in I was going to say sustainable way, but when we go through this class in a convincing way and get the most out of the class and the most out of the interaction and the most out of the lessons by having a belief system that's going to align with the direction that life is taking us or the direction that we want to go. Because if not, that resistance is going to result in what's called cognitive dissonance. And when cognitive dissonance manifests itself from a psychological standpoint, we let go of what we believe is causing us the most discomfort. We relieve tension by exiting or rationalizing when we really supposed to press in. When a mother is having her child, she has to push. She has to push. She has to push to birth that baby forward. She can't draw back because there's a life on the line. We have to push this life out for this life to be exposed to life itself. Same principle, different setting with us. And we're going to move forward in the capacity and the velocity and tenacity that we're supposed to push forward then. Or we're supposed to move forward then. When the pressure comes, we have to go into the pressure. The pressure comes because it's challenging our belief systems. Is, do you really believe what you want to do? If you do, you're going to be able to press in. If not, you're going to say, you know what, that ain't really for me. And it may be for you and it may be for us, but we got to have the right frame of mind and the right mental capacity and the right mindset to complement and align the direction that we going. I appreciate y'all. If you're watching this live, if you're watching this in my past, your present, feel free to share with anybody. Feel free to share any feedback, comments, or questions. I did put that up. I dare type, please share any thoughts or questions. But hey, I want to bring value to us, want to help us get into the right frame of mind before we start setting these goals. Because like I said before, you can set goals and use resolutions and still have the same belief system. It is most advantageous and beneficial to us to focus on the belief system by assessing the outcomes that we've achieved. And that either can be directly from God, or maybe if you submit it to a church, your leaders, spouse, or individual that you trust, or you can hire people to do it. You know, as far as the success coaches, life coaches, preferably they have proficiency and specialize in that area. But there are several ways that we can address or that we can evaluate our outcomes and find out where we falling short at. But the most beneficial, the most effective way is to have a relationship with God and bring it to Him and allow Him to speak to you in your heart to inspire you, to provoke you, and to give you the tools practically to move forward. We want to grow before we go. We don't want to go before we grow, because if we go before we go back to start. And that's something that we do not want to experience. Mr. K signing out. Monday. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, and the rest of your week.